Just before we move on, I just have to share this one. This super chat that came in. Phoebe Waller-Habsburg says, "Anyway, my darling, if you ever tire of Tatiana and want to know what a real empowered woman can give you, call me." According to Kiki,
Avatar.
Look at that shit.
Amazing jaw.
The Habsburg jaw. I give amazing jaw. Apparently,
That is,
Don't underestimate it.
the power of the jaw.
This movie's gonna fail hard.
Well, speaking of which, actually, there was a great little quote from Kathleen Kennedy regarding Phoebe Waller-Bridge just the other day, where she said that she was given an interview with Variety, where she said it's entirely possible that Phoebe Waller-Bridge, or should I say her character, could replace Indiana Jones going forwards. So Helena could end up replacing Indy moving forward. Now, I looked at that and thought, no, because this movie's going to flop.
I think dementia is setting in.
I think you get to a certain level of detachment from reality where it's not even frightening anymore. It's actually respectable. It's like you just live in such a bubble that reality just never impinges upon you in the slightest, does it?
Do we have a budget for this movie? A solid understanding of the budget.
Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
295 million, apparently. Last time I saw.
No, it's over 300 million.
So, how much do you think it would have to make for Disney to decide we are continuing the franchise with Phoebe Waller-Bridge? Do you think it would be like 1.2 billion or something like that at least?
It'd have to be 1.2, 1.3.
Something massive.
Like that, yeah.
Because
no fucking way.
Yeah.
No way.
It is currently... Oh, the Smokey moved. Whoa.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Why are you there?
Sorry.
Get back to your dog bed.
He just doesn't want to talk about Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. That's what that is.
So...
Protest.
It's tracking. Its opening weekend is tracking at 60 million, which is lower than the first 3 days of Crystal Skull without adjusting inflation.
I don't know why they would ever expect it to be higher than Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal Skull, Harrison Ford was still at a decent age.
He could have, like the potential for a good Indiana Jones movie was higher then than it is now.
Yeah, Spielberg was directing. They were going. They had Russians. It was in a decent timeline, but that movie was not good. And I know people will go, "Well, this will make Crystal Skull look good." No, there's only 3 Indiana Jones films.
Yeah,
and there always will be.
I mean, what would you say would be the realistic final box office for this worldwide? If it's a 60 million weekend to open.
60 million weekend? Ooh.
I mean, at that point, we're looking at what? 400, 500, right?
400,
yeah,
500,
I think.
Yeah.
That's going to lose.
I don't know how popular.
Millions.
Well, I would have to look at Crystal Skull's international, and yeah, I don't know how many people are going to want to watch a sad broken indie in any country. That's a good one, but it's going to die off because it comes out on the 30th, and then a couple weeks later, Mission Impossible comes out, and it will just erase any interest in Indiana Jones, if there is.
Unless, of course, they decide to make Ethan Hunt sad, old, and broken. I'm sure they'll do that any day now.
Totally.
I'm sure Tom Cruise would totally be up for that. Yeah.
It is so funny. Tom Cruise will never fucking allow it to happen. It doesn't. If he was fucking 906 years old, he wouldn't let it happen.
But look at the successes again. The successes are Spider-Man: No Way Home. I liked it. Total gimmick. Avatar 2, a sequel to a 10, 11-year-old movie. Can't even remember now. Don't care. Super Mario Brothers, which was an extremely popular franchise that they just basically made very accurate to that world, apparently. And Top Gun, which was a sequel to a 36-year-old movie. And now Mission Impossible is the 7th. Is it the 7th?
Yeah, I think
so
it is.
We're not getting anything original that's taking off. Like nothing. It is still like holdovers, like massive holders. So that's got to be a concern for Hollywood at this point. Or maybe not, because they're all on fucking strike.
Well, I was going to say,
possible.
We're not even going to see the results of this current disaster for a while, right? We're still going to have plenty of projects coming out.
I thought you were going to say we're not going to see the end of the Avatar series, and that's probably true as well, because I think we'll all have died of old age by the time the last one comes out.
Didn't the last one get pushed? I mean, I'm not even kidding, to 2030?
Something like that.
I think it's 2031.
How many are they making?
Five.
Make?
There's gonna be 5 in total.
It's gonna be 5.
Why?
Why? That's a
They don't
great
even have a
question.
fucking story.
That's 4
how are they
more
gonna
than we ever
crash my
needed.
ship to 5?
Yeah, we're getting to 10 years on that one, and bro, I'm gonna. Oh my god, I worked out how old I'm gonna be, and I don't even want to say it. It makes me
Don't think
sad.
about it, Gary.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna be almost 50 by the time the final one comes out.
yeah. I'll be almost
And you will be thankful to finally see it, to see how that ending.
Gripped by this story. I mean, they'll keep making them obviously because they're making money. Like Avatar
yeah.
2 made over $2 billion, didn't it?
I'm sure they've spoken to
Oh, yeah.
Cameron, like, can you franchise this, please? Can you Star Wars this motherfucker? Like, can we have more TV shows? Can we have some toys? Like,
Oh,
please?
Disney must be desperate on this one. It's
there
like,
is
holy
toys.
shit, something we're making that's actually producing money, like it's generating revenue. I didn't think that was possible anymore.
There is toys. Nobody buys them. Like nobody buys them. No, it is such a weird movie. It is such a weird franchise that it makes $2 billion and gets completely forgotten. It is like it is just disposable. It's like
fascinating, yeah.
the ramen
Yeah, it's so
noodles
weird.
of mega franchises. You know,
Some
a
people
little cup of
always end up
noodles.
saying no cultural footprint. That's what people say.
Yeah.
It's like,
Is there another
listen.
example of a movie that successful, but that just like from everything you just mentioned, like no cultural footprint, no merchandise, it just seems to just come and go, but make all the money in the world and then vanish.
You'd think for all the people who, were apparently suffering from depression after Avatar, like, oh, Pandora's not a real place, what am I going to do? They at least would form like crazy fan communities where they're constantly talking about it and like sharing theories and all this stuff, and it just doesn't seem to exist.
No,
There's just not
It's
much
like,
to
where is this so-called enthusiasm? Where does it go? Because there's nothing to latch onto. There's no real characters in it that are interesting. It's just vaguely good-looking people in a sci-fi setting that looks pretty, just doing actiony stuff. That's all you get out of it. It's
kinda
a
funny.
bizarre movie.
You look at like the ranked, highest box offices ever, and it's like Avatar in the top 3, and Endgame, and it's like, well, Endgame had a huge cultural impact that was enormous, and people still talk about it to this day. We already have today. No, it makes sense, but still, and it's like Titanic, and you're like, yeah, I mean, people reference fucking Titanic all the time. Force Awakens is 5, and you're like, that had quite a cultural impact, you could say. Like, we'll never be forgetting that one. There's like Infinity War, No Way Home, even Jurassic World. You're like, yeah, all these films, like, people remember them and talk about them. And, it's not to say people don't talk about Avatar, but man, I struggle to remember even the plot points of both of them, and I watched them not that long ago.
Mahler, watch Dominion.
Minions?
Dominion, Jurassic World,
Maybe I will.
Dominion. Watch that.
Oh,
yeah,
that
yeah.
movie.
Get all the booze. Just grab all the bottles. Grab the dog. Grab the fucking friggy and just do it. I'm telling you, it's like it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Fucking, holy shit! Does that dog he just blacks out like?
We all do that, don't we? Like, he moved, so I had to reposition the dog cam to get him in it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not in his dog bed. Why are you lying on the floor? Oh, whatever. Yeah, it
always
is hot
that-
here, actually.
Jurassic Park is lower than Jurassic World. It's like, yep,
Just let this
on
guy
the
say hi.
rankings.
well,
Like, Egon the Conqueror right there.
Don't put him near your eyes.
he looks angry. He just looks angry. That cat. No, I like to point out, some people don't think it's important, but adjusting for inflation, none of those movies would be up there. We still have Gone with the Wind being
Oh yeah, of course.
time, and Star Wars and E.T. But yeah, Hollywood has been going downhill. Hollywood peaked. They already peaked. That's already happened because gaming destroys them now. Utterly destroys them. So we're in the waning days of Hollywood. It'll always be around in some form or another, but now they have another thing to compete with, and they created their own problem. I mean, we're on day 55 of the writer's strike, and nobody gives a shit. Nobody's talking about it. It's barely being brought up in the trades at this point. And I hope some people are getting real nervous. And then if the actors completely shut down Hollywood, well, we've already been through a shutdown Hollywood, and we all survived. We somehow managed to survive without Hollywood during COVID. And we just entertain ourselves. And I got the Tom Hanks quote. He was trying to ride the fence because he's not a writer, but he's a producer. And he was asked directly about the strike, and he's like, "Well, I hope they all work out," because he admitted that we're in a different time now, where people can get free entertainment whenever they want on YouTube. He actually said it. He said the words. And that's where like late night's been gone. America is healing, and nobody's I don't miss the fucking Jimmy Kimmel clips on YouTube at all. I think it's made it a better place by them not being here. So that's going to be the future. It's all going to fracture, like with Eric, like Eric, that's the comic industry was the precursor to so much of it. They just did themselves in, and the people who love comics are still going to find a way to find good comics. But you're not growing your industry as a whole unless you have people making good comics and being consistent about it. And that's where manga swooped in and took it. There'll always be something else, right? For to be the pinnacle of entertainment. And it's not going to be movies anymore, especially if they take if it's a year. So this strike could last till Christmas. Fucking Christmas.
I love the fact that writers have been on strike for like a couple of months now, and we noticed no difference.
Until y'all brought it out, I was like, what the fuck? That was a thing.
Yeah, it's like, is that still happening or what?
I forgot about that. How long has it been?
It's been almost 2 months.
I think, look, the white pill for me, and I've brought this up a million times, is I think that in the future, to your point, Gary, it's not going to go away as far as that true demand, but it's not going to look the same that it had before. I think we're moving into a more decentralized kind of form of entertainment. Regional. And, I think that's going to happen with the movie and short film industry as well. We might not have the day and age of the multi-billion-dollar films and stuff. That doesn't mean that there won't be wildly successful ones, and they probably aren't going to be coming from like the establishment Hollywood. So, I welcome that. I think that status quo and that level has a level of uncertainty that comes with it in the event that it goes away. I think that's why so many people are protective of the status quo, because they look at it like that's my guaranteed spot. But if it like that infrastructure changes like as quickly as it has been, like as of recent, to where the technology has grown so much, people are shooting short films with their DSLR. It's getting insane. They're not having to spend $14,000 on some red camera or something. They don't have to do that anymore. If that's the way of the future, there's going to be a lot of people left without. And some people don't like that uncertainty. It's something that I certainly welcome, and I think it's going to be more beneficial for the customer. So it's probably not going to look like it ever had before, but to Gary's point, it's not going to necessarily go away per se. So that's something to be optimistic about. I think this is a great time to be a creative.
What I want to see is like a return to that mid-budget movie where you got maybe $40-50 million to spend on it. Doesn't have to make crazy box office numbers in order to turn a profit, and so you can then do things that are a bit more interesting. You don't have to make these shitty generic corporate approved movies that have to appeal to fucking everyone to have any chance of making their money back, and they're just boring as fuck. Something that's like specialized, like when we talked about action movies earlier. Fine, make one that's R-rated, that's violent, that's got swearing, that's got blood and guts and explosions and everything else. And all you have to make is like 100 million at the box office to turn a profit. Great, you can do that easily, and you can produce really entertaining, fun stuff, and you can take risks. That's what they need to be able to do again. They need to be able to take risks, and you can't do that with a $250 million movie. It's too much money at stake.
Joker and Deadpool. Joker and fucking Deadpool.
Absolutely.
Why didn't they learn from that? It's just the profit margin is so much more beneficial. It's just take the time to actually write a good story. It's just that simple. What else can we say to them at this point?
The reason they don't do that is because like everybody can't really have their hand in a cookie jar when it's like that. So everybody wants a piece of the damn pie, where you got to have, you actually have to strive for talent, because when you're pressed with an actual budget, you have to get talented writers, not a 50 million writers and half of them aren't even doing shit. You know what I mean? Like, or really contributing to the overall script. And that's what I don't think that they want, because they like, everybody wants to leave their imprint. So, and this is why I say in part, actually large part, Hollywood did themselves in with the big budget shit. You know what I mean? Like they really painted themselves in a corner, because the level of red tape that they have, people that work in the film industry, that you got some fucking person that's in charge of, like, I don't know, lotioning up the legs of the actress. And that's the only job that they're fucking in charge of. And they're getting an extraordinary amount of money to do that. That stuff that's why when you see it and you're like, how in the fuck did this movie cost $200 million.
adds
It's
up.
not like it went to the CGI. It's not like it went to the people that are playing. No, it's because they have so many different nonsensical jobs that they have to pay, and the amount of red tape that they put on themselves. This is why, is looking at this strike and the way that it's going, man, they might be really doing themselves in, but it's their own fault.
They have to reevaluate everything after this strike now. Like, they need to find a way to actually make money with these stories.
They need a production reaper to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think that's what that's what's happening. I think the producers, that's why they haven't really negotiated with them at all. They're like, and the producers are just as guilty, right? They're the ones who signed all these freaking ridiculous deals, and they want to get out of them now. And on the 30th, a lot of force majeure will kick in, which means any deal we made, we can get out because you're on strike. They are going to do. It's a purge. It will be a purge. And maybe it's good, maybe it's not. But now is the time, just like in COVID, it's like, if you got something you want to make, these writers, if they're so good at writing, get off the Hollywood teat, write a novel.
Go do it
write a
yourself.
comic book, go out there.
If you're that good. I think, and that's what they don't want to do, though, Gary. This is why I talk about the protection of the status quo. We've seen that happen in the comic book space, again, which seemed to be the precursor for all this, where you get these supposedly notable writers that are on the biggest projects, and then they tried to enter into the crowdfunding space, and it didn't do. I'm not going to say it failed, but it's not doing anything near the numbers of what they think that they can do, because they're not the draw. They're not the draw like that, and probably they're not as good as they like to think of themselves as. And that's what, why protecting that status quo is so attractive, because really it's the only machine that can afford to pay them the amount that they're getting and get the amount of eyes that they're getting, because these guys know they can't do that themselves.